Hello, this is Irene with SaugaTalks. Hello, everyone. I'm so privileged today to have my business and tech talk with Denis Gagné. I think I'm not butchering the name. Hello, Denis. Say hello for everyone.
Hi, Irene. Hi, everyone.
Hi, Denis. Yes, so good to catch you between great things you're doing. So I'm very appreciative of time and chance to talk to you, because talking to our audience, Denis is, I know Denis as business process management expert, and expert at the level of spending maybe a lifetime or a couple of them in business process management, but that is doing great things now, which is beyond process, if there is such thing in process universe. It's actually around digital enterprise. Things we're going to be talking about today is digital transformation. We'll talk about automation. We'll touch a little bit on AI, how processes and enterprises changing now that technology is available. And we will talk about pandemic as well, because of course on everyone's mind, business and tech right now is about what's happening with all of us, what's happening in the industries and the jobs, and what we see is going to be happening going forward. So Denis, I'm going to open up with very open-ended question. Listen to me here. Open-ended question, right? How are you coping? How's life around you? How's your business? How's tech around you?
Excellent. We're coping excellent, and I'm coping personally excellent too. My life used to be a lot of travel. I used to be on the road many times a month. And now I'm basically forced to be home for a while, which is nice. It's a great thing to be home. It's a great thing to be able to catch up on everything. As you know, when you travel a lot, you always have the feeling that you're either preparing for the next trip or catching up from the last trip. And it's very hard to get things organized in the middle. So being local is quite nice. With the COVID, being a software vendor and a software developer, we were already used to doing some of our work in remote work. So the transition was very quick for us to transition with everybody working remotely from home. So that was a quick transition. We're a little bit past the learning phase, but we had a learning phase about the informal communication. You know what happens when you turn your head and you call out to somebody that's a couple of doors down, or you walk behind someone and you ask them an impromptu question on something. So that was harder to introduce into this more formal visual way or remote way of communicating. So we find we're getting better at it, but that was our biggest challenge at first, is suddenly all this informal communication, and even the smallest thing of, is the person busy? You know, you just raise your head over the cubicle, you see if the person is busy, or the office door is shut. Now all you have to rely on is a little red dot or yellow dot or green dot on a person. So you're always kind of like, oh, is he available? Should I? So, but all in all, personally, I'm enjoying this new way of working a lot.
Beautiful, beautiful. I definitely understand the sentiment. I spent majority of my professional career in corporate world working remotely, okay? And if anything, there was certain etiquette there developed, right? How to bother a person on instant messaging and what kind of the exchange of information, right? I think we've gotten pretty good at it, okay? Because I don't even remember the time when you could like kind of look around and see the people you need to see. But all I'm saying that many people really forced into this new environment, and I hear all kinds of, from great, it's all fine, to really lots of frustration, disappointments, in a way that it is not easy to be looking at the screen all day long, and it's definitely taking toll on some great citizens around here. So I'm glad things are not drastically changing for you. So this is wonderful. So let's talk about then digital business, because like it or not, right, many businesses will have to become digital. So let me ask you this, you know, from your experience, digital enterprise, how do you want to think about it? What do you think it consists of?
We've been on this journey at Trisotech for quite a few years already with the software we develop, and the current context is really promoting this kind of new work. So we were talking about the social interaction earlier that now requires to be a little bit more structured, a little bit more planned. And in the same vein, by all getting remote, suddenly all the processes, all the work that takes place in the organization that rely on that physical interaction, that rely on that physical ending out a piece of paper or a particular element of work is basically fell apart. So organization that could structure and be more digital in their way of working have a leg up on the others. So with Trisotech, we're an enterprise software vendor focused on what we call the Digital Enterprise Suite. And the Digital Enterprise Suite has two aspects to it. There's the digital modeling and there's the business automation to it. And the digital modeling is really about creating kind of a digital twin of your organization. What's your structure, how things are done, what's the strategy, what's our strengths and weaknesses, what are we doing, what are the role and responsibility, how are they assigned to the different tasks, how are the initiatives related to the business goal of the organization, and building this whole global view of the organization in a digital manner that can be used to explore, analyze, and improve the organization with this digital twin. And on the business automation side is to leverage all this knowledge that is captured and leverage it in terms of the operation. And how does that apply to the operation? Because once I know who's responsible for what task and how tasks should get done, then the automation is pretty much streamlined by this. And then you can use that to orchestrate what's going on in the organization in a very digital remote way. And this environment allows you to bring in and orchestrate any kind of other aspects. So whether it is different technology that IT has produced, or whether it's AI technology that you pull in, or IoT. So it's a way of orchestrating all these different building blocks, if we can call them that, into a single view of the organization.
Beautiful, beautiful. Do you see that need for moving businesses toward digital twins to become a digital enterprise? Do you see that need increasing as we're going through pandemic, and of course everyone is planning for the future? Or you see many companies really cutting their, innovative initiatives, and that affects of the technology they will be acquiring, or any kind of transformational initiatives that they will be doing in the short run?
Yeah. So the pandemic is certainly bringing forward a couple of elements that are very important. One is suddenly cost reduction is on the top of mind of everybody. So the context is bringing all kinds of downfalls in terms of economy and business. So all the executives are now very, very mindful about cost reduction. And as we know, everything that has to do with process and process automation is an ideal tool for cost reduction, for efficiency and effectiveness. So there's the double thing. And we were already engaged in digital transformation. So digital transformation, I think, is here to stay, is here to become bigger and bigger into what we do. So with the digital transformation movement already initiated, with the pandemic breaking the communication and the orchestration of what's going on in the organization, bring the need for that even higher, and plus having that cost reduction because of the financial impact is yet another motivator. So everything is really pointing to business automation and digital transformation towards business automation as the ideal target in this environment.
Okay, that's good to hear from you. So let's talk about then people's skills and jobs. Okay, what kind of transformation will be happening there? as businesses adapting more and more digital practices. So which professions kind of gonna emerge, you know, in terms of, yes, the certain skills that, yeah, maybe it's robotic process automation specialist, right? Maybe others. So what's your thinking?
Yeah, I think like any new introduction of technology, the digital transformation is going to bring some modification of how we work and how we achieve our goals. It's not necessarily going to be a pure change in the way people work, because the technology is also going to evolve and adapt to people. So the adaptation and the adaptation is working from both sides. So we have people having to learn new skills and new capabilities in working with the new technology, but at the same time, we have the technology evolving to meet the needs of these new contexts that we're seeing. So this distributed remote work is bringing in this need for faster digitalization of everything, but it's also asking for simple environment. So we really want, so one of the focus of Trisotech is to focus on closing the IT business divide that exists. It's an old topic. It's still around even today, even in the most modern company. We're a small, agile software development company, and there is still an IT and business divide within our organization. It's just two facets of the same world. So in Trisotech, we've been really focused on how can we close that gap? How can we make those two pieces closer to one another, IT and business? And our solution has been always the same. We're always been on the same journey of making sure that we provide IT with the capability of creating the blocks, the Lego blocks, if you want. Nowadays, we would use the term microservices. So to encapsulate the different elements in microservices or Lego blocks, and then having business using these Lego blocks to orchestrate the business logic the way they need to orchestrate the business logic. So closing that gap, I think, is what we're progressing towards. And the digital transformation is really aiming at that as well, is to make sure that there is no more, or at least as little as possible, physical limitation in the work to proceed. And therefore, we can reach this digital mindset for everybody.
Absolutely. I have to ask you this now. You know, what role AI is going to play in overall process improvement initiatives, but most importantly, right, for companies to become digital business. So where is this low-hanging fruit? You know, the big, what is it, big term AI, right? And where do you see company implementing it with most successes? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, AI is an interesting topic to me because I did my grad studies in AI in the late 80s. And back then, it was right in the major AI movement of the 5th generation and everything. And then we went into the famous AI winter. I think right now we're living a resurgence for AI, an interest in AI. I think a lot of it will stay. I don't think it's going to be everything everybody is selling it to be right now, just like it wasn't the first time. But the first time, there was a lot of progress that AI brought that people didn't really associate it to it. So there was a lot of work about, you know, rule-based systems and the notion of agents and wizards. So suddenly now we started seeing a lot of wizard and agents in the software and the operating system. And then people forgot that this got its root in AI, but naturally AI, depending on which AI you look at, you know, there's kind of two goals to AIs, if you want. So there's one side of AI that is trying to do things that are seen as intelligent by humans. Mm-hmm. And then there's another branch, which is to try to understand the human cognitive workings with technology. And so depending on which AI you look at, the one about trying to do something that looks intelligent, that AI is the good old-fashioned AI that is doomed to disappearing. And basically, it's disappearing because, for example, in the 80s, you know, we thought that playing chess with a computer would be unthinkable until a computer beat the champion, the world champion. And then we said, well, that's not really AI, really. It's a lot of look ahead. And then people said, well, now Go is probably the most complex game and nobody could ever get to the level of that. And suddenly we have a software that does it. And then they say, well, that's not really AI because of this. And then a couple of years ago, what started a lot of the movement now was everything about image recognition and detail recognition and image. And people said, well, you know, if you're able to see the little bird in the corner of that picture, then, you know, it must be very intelligent. And now we're doing this, and then people saying, well, that's not really AI, it's just image processing. So good old-fashioned AI is always disappearing into what becomes acceptable in technology. So I think a lot of what's happening right now will suffer from the same kind of problem, if it is a problem, in that a lot of what we're seeing now that people are finding very innovative, which is related mostly to machine learning and pattern matching, real soon will become just, well, that's part of what we do. And now it's no more. I remember in the 80s when I was doing AI, natural language processing was one hell of a challenge. We couldn't figure out then how a machine could exchange verbally with someone. Now we have automatic translation. I talk into my iPhone and it's translating it in Japanese to the person in front of me. But we don't say, oh yeah, that's all AI. So AI is always taking a new face, and we're using and we're finding ways to integrate it into how we do things and integrate it into the business. So I think that's a very important thing, and it's going to play a big role. So within the context of my world, which is the business process world and business automation, the interest is in quite a few fold, but one of the main interests is how do we orchestrate AI within the workings? So how do I get an email from somebody to do some work? I can send it to an AI system that will tell me if this email was maybe a little bit strong and powerful in its demand, or whether it was smart and easy, and then it will help me guide my answer, and then I may even check my answer through that system to make sure that my email answer is not offensive or not perceived as negative. So I think these tools will get integrated in the flow of work as we go forward, and it's going to become a very useful thing to have. The caveat is that AI is not going to be everything that everybody thinks it is right now. So there's a lot of wasted effort and money. So money is thrown to...
And disappointment, I have to add, right? I mean, early adopters, you know, some of them baiting out because they did not see overnight improvement, you know, and that was promised to them. So, yeah.
Well, it's always the same. There's always, you know, whenever a new technology comes around, I'll say it figuratively, but marketing takes a hold of it and make it bigger than life. And then when people go and run to it, they say, well, it's not really what the TV showed me, you know. The widget on the TV looked like that big sturdy thing, and when I get it, it's this little plastic thing. Well, the same is true with technology and AI, is that people are saying, hey, look at the amazing things that are possible. And so people rush to it, but then they realize, oh, it's going to take a lot of work. It's going to take a lot of knowledge. Suddenly AI is still in the realm of data specialist and data engineer. And suddenly you go, oh, okay, now I need a group of data engineer. Now, as I was mentioning in the intro, technology is progressing. So even now, within the last couple of years, we see that a lot of the machine learning system and AI are finding a way to make it simpler to use. So each are meeting each other. So people realized that data scientists were rare and hard to find, and this work was complex. So now the software is providing more abilities to help, and eventually they'll meet in the middle. And I think that's the normal progression of what we're seeing.
Good, good, good. Do you see any democratization going on in terms of data scientists? They're still in their ivory tower, okay, that everybody respects and everybody kind of staying away, shying away from asking too many questions, okay? So do you see any progress being made that, you know, through tools, through different platforms, that data science will become a little more open to regular engineers and regular programmers and beyond, because without it, right, it still will be very exclusive club and there's not going to be, yeah, broad adoption.
I do see that, and I do see that coming very, very quickly. And actually, if it doesn't come quickly, then we're going to fall into another AI winter, because the tooling and the technology will be out of reach for organization. So there's a lot of tooling progressing in data cleansing and automatic data cleansing and adjusting parameter and raising salient elements of the data into the forefront for analysis. So there's a lot of work being done so that, quote unquote, machine learning or data analysis is to the level of using Excel, you know, which is, for some reason, still remain the reference basis on which we can compare technology and people's skills, you know. If it's at the level of Excel, we know all business can adopt it and use it. So whatever brings us to that level is very useful. And a subject that is near and dear to me, which is decision management, there's a standard DMN, the decision model annotation, and DMN is really aimed at bringing a lot of the decision technology in a structured way that business can control with the decision requirements, so they're able to specify their business requirement in a visual way, and then specify the business logic, the decision logic, in very simple table format, again, taking us toward the Excel moniker. So there's a lot of progress, and this progress is moving into standards as well. So when things are moving in standards, usually it means that there's enough of a movement to reach a tipping point.
What about standards in data science? I'm kind of grilling you on that topic because we know it's not there yet, right? But without standard way of exchanging information and basically working together, right, there's not going to be wide adoption. So do you see any steps? Yeah.
So there are a few standards in the work. There are a few standards that exist. So there's a standard called PMML that englobes predictive models. It's funny because everything about predictive model and machine learning now is suffering from its success. So vendors right now don't really have a reason to get together and solve that interchange or integration problem, because everybody is running to buy their first system. And so therefore, there's plenty of business for everybody. But as soon as large organization will get their first, their second, their third system, then I'll say, hey, I need these systems to talk. I need these systems to progress together. Then standard becomes important. Funny enough, PMML as a standard came out a while ago. It was prior to the big wave that's going on now. So it's going to be interesting enough if that standard is going to be revived to bring in that glue that's needed between the different solutions that are being offered.
Yep. So yeah, can't wait to see that progress, because I myself started my career as SQL developer, okay, Oracle developer. And for me, SQL was this universal tool that actually started my whole new life, because I did not like programming in assembler and I did not like programming in C even, okay? But SQL really made me understand, right, the structured databases and kind of play with data and having fun with it. All right, so I really want your data science to become available for broader masses like myself. And yeah, can't wait to see what kind of progress.
And generally speaking, if you look at the history of computer science and you really step back from everything, you see that what's been happening is always this increasing in an abstraction.
Yep.
So we were at first, like you said, programming in assembly, then in advanced language. And then for a while, people caught on to this, and we started talking about third GL and fourth generation language and fifth generation language, which was the big AI project of the 80s. Now we've left those moniker, but progressively we've been moving up in this level of abstraction. And if you look at the standards, for example, in our field of business automation, like BPMN, the business process model and notation, CMMN, the case management model and notation, and DMN, the decision model and notation, that's what those are really. They're ways of abstracting so that we don't want to say that too often, but of getting business people to be able to program. But they're programming at a level of abstraction that's amicable to them, but under it, there's enough expression and power to do the complex thing that needs to be done.
Absolutely, absolutely. Isn't it wonderful time we live in? So I got to ask you then this one more thing. So now we're talking about vendors and big tech players rather, okay? And I ask a lot of my guests here, how do you see this collaboration, competition is gonna go forward? Because frankly, right, it's kind of cool what IBM and Oracle and Microsoft and Google able to provide now, right, to larger community of developers and companies. But at the same time, where is this borderline between platforms and industry specific applications, where of course there are lots of potential, and we're hoping there will be a lot of opportunities for startup and other vendors kind of excel, right, going forward. So where do you see this whole thing going?
I think there's always going to be an independent market, and there's going to be independent software vendors that are going to bring value. It's true in any kind of economic centers or market. Even restaurants, you know, you would think, you know, big chain restaurant would kill all the local owners and the small restaurants, or the fast food would kill any restaurant. And then you realize, no, they cut a particular segment of the market for themselves, but there remains very attractive elements to this. So independent software vendors will always bring the innovation and the rapid innovation to the market, because in order to exist, they have to find this gap in between the big guys always. So they're fitting in those gaps always. So I think everybody is moving to elevate that level of abstraction we were just discussing to. So the large vendors are pushing the technology, bringing a lot of AI available as services. And then we're going to see a lot, like Trisotech is doing, a lot of organization providing software that allows you to orchestrate all these different pieces. So for example, within the Trisotech environment, I can, if I want, pick up a Twitter on a particular hashtag, based on that Twitter, evaluate the sentiment of the Twitter message, and turn on a light in my office, red, green, or yellow, depending on that. So I could have my lights flashing all day anytime somebody tweets something about Trisotech to know. And if the light is flashing green all the time, I'm happy. If the lights start flashing red too much, then I'm sad. But all this technology is existing and doable today. I can do this very quickly with these kind of business automation environment.
Fantastic, fantastic. So we did talk about, right, businesses moving towards digital, if they like it or not, right? But question is, how do you balance the investment into doing something new with the cost cutting, right, pressure that everyone's feeling now, okay? So what's the kind of light at the end of this tunnel? Where is the opportunity and kind of optimistic, point of view here, Dennis? What do you think ahead of the industry and of course, companies looking to adapt?
Well, in a sense, like I said, we're lucky because the digital transformation, which was the movement that was initiated before the pandemic, will get augmented with the pandemic. The pandemic is just justifying more digital transformation. And the cost reduction need is yet another argument for digital transformation and automation. So all these are pushing in the same direction. So I think it's actually very good, because all this new technology, using more disruptive technology like AI or IoT, putting this all into the mix of the business transformation makes sense. So if I'm an executive in a company, I always like killing two birds with one rock. So if I can do my digital transformation, do my cost reduction, increase my efficiency and my collaboration on my process, and then also doing this with the digital transformation, improve my customer journey and how customer interact with me, there's so many wins there that it's hard to defeat that argument.
I like the way it sounds. I definitely like the way it sounds, because this business and tech talks, it's really about, yeah, how to find yourself as a company, how to find yourself as an individual if you are mid-career, right? And where are the opportunities? So I appreciate so very much, Denis, you taking time and sharing with the audience, with the new audience, all right? And I'll do what I can, of course, to promote the talks. So I appreciate so very much, and I wish all the best. So all the best and success to Trisotech. I will be really following and seeing about the progress. So thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me. It was great.
Absolutely, I enjoyed talking to you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.